Well, it's a story of apathy and neglect, not just for a victim, but also for a good Samaritan. Kensington resident Margaret Durham was in for a rude awakening when, out of sheer humanity, she decided to help a teenager. She ran from pillar to post at the Department of Social Development, only to be asked to go to the next person. Margaret immediately had to give shelter to a teenager at her own home. She gave her food and clothes, and now after 24 hours of requesting the Department of Social Development, the teenage girl has been taken in. 7's Kelden Ongmu witnessed this ordeal firsthand.
Just
It's against children, but you can't get help.
no,
So,
we will help you. Okay, just come down. We'll go to my office and we'll sort out what you need to sort out.
Commotion at the Department of Social Development at the Commissioner Street in Johannesburg. Little did Kensington resident Margaret Durham know that a Good Samaritan act will see her crying profusely.
It's so shameful. 16 days of activism is going on. A director of this department sends her a text saying, "Thank you for keeping the child safe, but can you bring her to us tomorrow?" Social development is supposed to send a social worker immediately, then do the investigations later.
As the nation commemorates 16 days of activism for abuse against women and children, the Department of Social Development, it seems, is unaware of its very own role. This is the story of Margaret and a 16-year-old girl, both helpless.
Yesterday afternoon, I had just driven my car into my garage, and before I closed the door, a young woman came up to me and said, "May I speak to you?" She explained that she had a friend who was being beaten up by her mother, and the friend had walked away in tears. So Andile told me the story of this friend. She's in grade 10 with who had run away from home that morning and had come to her, but she couldn't go home with her, and they didn't know where to turn. Yesterday, after being told by a social worker on the DSD helpline that I should bring to the second floor of 91 Commissioner Street in Johannesburg, when we arrived here, having been assured that there would definitely be someone who would receive her and place her, we found that nobody was willing to help us.
When a child is found abandoned or stranded, the rule says that the child should be taken for a medical test immediately. An intake social worker is assigned and safekeeping is ensured. But in this case, nothing was followed, and the Department of Social Development knows it very well.
Our protocol as the whole of government is we need to be highly responsive. As is the case when in an emergency, you don't ask a client where he or she comes from. You don't even ask for nationality issues. You intervene from a crisis management point of view, and then you then follow through with other matters that are required to be implemented.
What Margaret got instead was this shocking text message from one of the top officials. To leave such a delicate matter for tomorrow could lead to even further deterioration of the case.
It's quite an unfortunate flow of events in terms of what has happened to the child and even the civilian who reported this matter and who worked on it. But as a department, it's an issue that we don't condone. It should not have happened. And in actual fact, as the whole of government, as you know, we need to protect vulnerable people and we need to be highly responsive.
Meanwhile, for the 16-year-old, things have been taking unfortunate turns.
I ran away from home yesterday after my mom beat me up so bad. I actually thought that she was going to kill me for some reason because she even strangled me. So I thought maybe if I went away for a while and kind of gave her space to calm down, she'd be fine. it wasn't normal. And I'm scared to go back because now it feels like when my mom beats me, it's like she's actually street fighting or something like that. Because even when she beats me, she's like, she wants me to fight back. And when I fight back, I actually make her more angry. I'm scared to go back because now it's like, she doesn't beat me because she's beating a child, but she's actually fighting with me.
Good Samaritans like Margaret says because of the delay in help she received from the Department of Social Development, she will have to think twice in future before she helps someone like the 16-year-old. This is Kelden Alma for ANN7, Johannesburg.